It's good to be with such a good group of growers today, and we talk about a lot of different things in agriculture that can take us a leap ahead. And when I think about soybeans, and for years I said soybeans nothing but a weed because I just flat out love corn. But in the last 5 years, soybeans become a very prominent part of our farming system. And what we have found is that the earlier we plant, the quicker beans respond and the more yield we've been able to generate from, say, a May 6th to May 10th planting. So let's talk a little bit about early soybean planting, because it might mean that you need to be looking for a second used planter. And maybe the corn planter and the soybean planter start the same day. So the field that we're in here, we started planting these soybeans in our first field on April 2nd. And we never stopped. We pushed hard. And so the fact was, can we get a lot of beans in the ground before that first wave of rain started to come in to central Illinois? And so I'm excited as we look at today's results, saying, does early soybeans pay? I think I got some pretty good examples to show you. Because we also raised seed beans, and I didn't get to the last field of seed beans didn't come in from Argentina until May 23rd, and they went in the ground on May 26th. And they were a 3-1 bean. So they're a little earlier than these. These are a mid-group 3, non-GMO that I'm standing in. And so we'll take a look. So what do we talk about when we say early planting? What we're really talking about is the longest day and the shortest night of the year. So as we approach late March and early April, we're talking about night length, because we realize that night length is going to drive the protein in this leaf. The protein in this plant triggers flowering. So the longer the nights, the quicker this bean is going to flower. So when we plant an April 1st time frame, we're going to get this short soybean. And you'll see pictures here in the video of April 2nd beans, a ballpoint pin height, and they're flowering. And I was out here going, oh yeah, this is exactly what the target was. Can we trick these beans into flowering before the shortest night of the year, which is June 21st, or solstice? And so the closer we get to the shortest night, beans then no longer are going to trigger early flowering, and they're going to wait almost until July 1st until they start to flower. So those beans, and I have a sample here of the beans planted on May 21st, they're just now starting to flower here on mid-July. And there's no pods. Doesn't mean they're going to be bad yielding beans. What we're talking about here is 12 to 15 bushels of extra. And as I think about in agriculture, all the things in the past that we've worked on, you take, what, 30 years ago when no-till first come into agriculture prominently, people quickly jumped on it. Why? Because it flat out worked. It didn't take a business or an ag business trying to push it and sell it. Farmers tried it, they liked it, and it worked. No different than strip till. Look what strip till has done in the last 10 to 12 years. And the success they've had in this area flat out works. Growers quickly move to it. But yet I think about variable rate seeding, variable rate nutrients, and it's been a struggle, hasn't it? Now, I've done it since 1987. We've been putting in variable rate population, and it fits my program extremely well. I'm a huge proponent of it. But if you look across the industry, in the days of precision planting, I couldn't get guys to think about putting on hydraulic different motors to drive meters at different speeds going through the field on different soil types. But when it comes to early beans, the adaptation rate of this has been huge and fast. I got customers all over the nation, and when I talk to them, they're like, Greg, I already got 500 acres of beans in, and it's only April 8th or April 10th. Even my Minnesota friends were done planting beans before the end of April. And so let's talk about, we're going to pod early and we're going to pod lower to the base of the plant. So what I'm talking about is what you see here. We got pods, so here's the ground level right with my fingers, and I have a pod touching the ground. So my draper head, I'm going to have to figure out on my combine, we run Deere combines, we're going to get the feeder house sloped. So my draper head's going to come here and it's barely going to catch that last pod, but I love that kind of problem. This plant is loaded with already mature pods. These are sure bets. Now, this bean's got a long ways to grow yet, and you can see up here in the top trifoliate, we got some beautiful flowering happening yet today. At the same time, you look here at our May 26th planting of these 3 ones, these seed beans, they're basically almost the same height as the April 2nd. But then you start to look where the first pod set's gonna be, if we can get it, it's up here. So now I'm what, 6-7 inches higher when the first one, if it even starts to hold and create a pod. It hasn't created a pod yet, so all I'm saying is, it comes down to some pretty exciting, simple things. We run multiple planters on our operation, so it's no problem for me to get a bean planter running in here. We put 20-inch beans out. And so my first beans actually went in on March 7th, a Saturday, way early. And I wanted to see even that crazy early, and it snowed on it 2 times, froze twice, and those beans look pretty remarkable today. I didn't bring any of those because March 7th is such an extreme, but these April 2nd are reality for where you folks live. And so these are things you and I need to think about, because at the end of the day, even in an 850 bean market, I can get pretty excited about 15 bushel. When we think of risks, without question, the May 9th frost and freeze that come through our area put a lot of us on edge, and there was replant beans. This field went under a careful analysis, and I realized that I don't have 120,000 standing plants. This field here is closer to 85,000 final stand, and I'm good with that. Last year I was able to take some beans down into low 70s and still had beans over 85 bushel. Just because we started planting this field on April 2nd doesn't mean we got early, quick emergence. These particular beans, due to our spring here in central Illinois, were in the ground for almost 20 days. So it's when they actually emerge is when we start the time clock, when we think of flowering. And so there was concern. And so as I followed in our different planting dates, most of my April beans from the 19th and earlier really flowered early due to the long night length before that longest day of the year. So I like that we have a range and we'll watch it. Obviously we need to take it to yield, but if I was betting, the yield will be here.